Good evening. My name's David, and this evening I'm running a session of Hearts of Wulin, the final session, in fact, in my current series, Storm of Falling Blossom. So, a brief introduction to the game itself. First of all, Hearts of Wulin is an upcoming Powered by the Apocalypse game, based around sort of wuxia fiction, specifically sort of longer form fiction like sort of Chinese dramas, wuxia novels, and also films like kind of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, the more sort of character-led martial arts films rather than sort of pure action stuff. So the game is due, I believe the Kickstarter is due to go live on the 7th of May, but certainly very soon after this episode goes out. There's also some playtest material and stuff available for it online now. I'll put links to that down below. This game is being run as part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. So the Gauntlet is an online role-playing game community playing all sorts of indie games, from sort of story games, OSR, pretty much everything in that sort of wide ballpark. We have a number of things that we do, sort of thing. There are a series of podcasts. There's a monthly zine with all sorts of stuff for both existing and new indie RPGs. There are some forums, and we run this gaming calendar where we sort of schedule online games like this one. So all information on all of that is available on the website, which is gauntlet-rpg.com. Again, links down at the bottom. So I think that's a very brief introduction to the game we're running this evening. So I'll just quickly ask the players to introduce themselves, and I'll start off. We'll go through in character keeper order just for ease of having an order. As I said, my name's David. I'm based in the UK, and I use he/him pronouns.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm located in Stockholm, Sweden, and I go by he/him.
Hi, my name is Dunham. My pronouns are he/him, and I'm based in Dublin, Ireland.
Hello, I'm Alan, he/him, and I'm based in Yorkshire in the UK.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So in a second, we'll get everyone to introduce their characters. So due to a couple of life events happening and so on and so forth, we've had a bit of a mixed cast over the last few weeks. So while everyone here has played in previous sessions of this game, this will be the first time Alex is playing with Donna and Alan, and it was Donna and Alan's first time playing the game last session. So it's all going to be a bit of a catch up at the beginning. But before we get into that, I'll just quickly go over the safety tools that will be in use in the game this evening. So part of playing games and sort of Gauntlet Hangouts calendar is ensuring that we will have a safe environment to play in. We have a number of steps that we sort of use to bring that into action. I lost myself there. Firstly, all games are run under sort of what we call the Gauntlet inclusivity policy. This is basically just a number of very short guidelines, well, not guidelines, sort of statements on how we will play together as a group. They largely boil down to that we'll treat each other as friends here to play a game. We'll work with understanding. We'll treat each other with kindness and with generosity. We will, treat each other with respect. That's about it, really. It's not complicated. The full details are again available at the website. We also have the open door policy. The open table policy, I should say. Which no, open door. I did mean that. Which is to say that if at any point during the game, if you don't feel like you want to continue with the game, whether that be because something's come up in the game that you're not happy with, you're not feeling that evening, or just because you're not feeling great, you get a phone call, you have to leave, whatever, anything like that, that's fine. Or if you just need to take like a few minutes break, just for a breather, or whatever else. Again, that's perfectly fine. If you can let me know, that's great, but don't feel that you have to explain yourself. If you need to leave, you can just leave, and that's fine. Next, we have we're going to be running this evening with the script change tool. This is a safety tool by Bree Bo Sheldon, and there's a PDF linked in the shared folder for my players. Basically, what this is, it's just a number of sort of command words essentially that we can use to stop or amend the game as we play through it. If some content comes up you're not happy with, whether that be because it's sort of subject matter you just don't really want to deal with, or you think it's tonally off, or you just think that we could maybe do something a little bit differently or a little bit better, and you want to kind of make a revision, that's fine. So there are a number of command words, as I said. The first one, probably the most simple and easy to use one, is just pause. And basically you can just call pause. We will stop what we're doing. And that will give us room to have a discussion if there's like a specific thing, like, actually, I don't like, X that's happening. Can we avoid going any further with that? Can we change our course a little bit? Anything like that. Or even you might want to say, pause. This is where I want to go with this scene. Is everyone happy with that? Anything like that is cool. It's basically just a tool for us to have a brief breakout and conversation. Or it may even just be that you say, pause, I like the scene, I like where it's going, but I just need a minute before we carry on with it. And that's fine. There is rewind. Rewind basically is our cue to say that we're going to just step back from what's happened and go forward in a slightly different way. Again, we'll have a quick discussion about what we want to do, where we want to go with that. Again, you can use this on yourself if you want to say, oh, actually, what I just said sounds a bit more aggressive than I intended. What I'll actually say is, yada, yada, yada. That's fine. So that's pause, rewind. We also have fast forward. Fast forward can be used for basically saying, okay, I think we're done with the scene, I want to just move on now. Or it might be that, like, there's some subject matter that you don't mind existing in the fiction, but you don't want to like dwell on it, and you just say, okay, we know you're going to like perform surgery on this guy, I don't really want this sort of blow by blow description of what's going on, we'll just move past it. Those are, I guess those are sort of three of the most important ones. There's also resume, which is basically just once we have used on the other tools, you can use resume just to say, okay, we're just going back into playing as normal now. There is step by step. If you say step by step, it basically means there might be something coming up in the scene where you're not you think it could go into territory you're not happy with, and saying that we want to do it step by step basically just means we'll just be a bit slower about what we're doing. We'll stop in frequently to check in with each other to make sure everyone's happy that it keeps going. It just sort of lets us know that we're kind of going to take things a bit more at a bit more of a leisurely pace. And then finally, there is instant replay. Instant replay is essentially used to, at the end of a scene, to just say, oh, it could be, you can basically just recap or go over something that's just happened in the previous scene. And this can be just to sort of say, oh, I really like that thing that you did there. That was cool. It would be good to see more of that. Or for something like, hey, I know that scene got a little bit confused, but I am right in thinking that you picked up the gem and hid it right. Just to sort of clarify what happened in the scene. We also have the final safety tool we have is the X card, which is probably quite familiar for anyone who has played in a lot of in any Gauntlet games before or watched any Gauntlet games before. The X card is basically just a tool to stop the scene. If there's some content comes up that you're not happy with, again, maybe because it's unpleasant or just something you don't want to deal with right now, or again because you just feel it's totally off. Again, those are all fine reasons to use it. In many ways, it functions a lot like the pause in the script change, but it's just a slightly simpler and more direct emergency tool. So you can invoke the X card by holding up your hands in sort of X formation in front of the camera, by typing in chat at the side, by just saying, I'd like to X card that. if the X card is used, we will, like I said, we'll just pause for a moment. I might ask you to clarify what it is that you want to X card if it's not clear from context, just so we know to avoid that that content going forwards, so we don't have a sort of repeat performance. But I won't ask you to justify why you're X carding it. So it's perfectly fine to say, like, yeah, I don't want us to deal with, I don't want any spiders. I don't like that bit with spider. Can we just get rid of that? And that's we'll do that. You don't have to justify why you don't want spiders in it. We just accept that we won't have any more spiders. On the stuff, the cross to that is that if something you bring into the game does get X carded, something you're doing gets X carded, don't take it personally. Just accept that somebody doesn't want that thing in there, and we'll move on. There's no need to apologize. There's no need to again justify from your side either. We'll just move on with it. Those are all of our safety tools. The other thing I briefly mentioned is we've previously had lines and veils discussions to just determine what stuff we definitely don't want or we want to downplay in our game. So I think that's all of the safety talk out of the way. So with that said, I will give a very brief overview on sort of our play to date, or at least our context to date. So it is the Spring Festivals in the city. We're set in a sort of mythical Chinese of no particular historical period. The spring festivities are underway in this city, and there has been a sort of gathering of figures of the Wulin as part of this. There are due to be some tournaments and some other entertainments as part of the general festivities. All of our characters have found their way to the city. Some of them are more closely tied to than others. When last we played, the city governor, Governor Bao, was throwing a garden party at which several of the players were in attendance. Ming, or Yellow Whisper, one of our previous players, broke into his office to try and get some incriminating evidence on him, which she did find, but was confronted by another nobleman in the city, Sun Feng, who seems to have some sort of nefarious plan underway. Prior to this, there had been some convoluted goings on between various of the players and some external factors. And Alex, who's returning to us this evening, last time I think not the last time we saw his character, but last time we saw it, last session he was in, his character came under attack by a band of assassins who were set to dissuade him from an investigation that he was supposedly pursuing. And I think that's a very brief précis of where we're up to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask each one of you in turn. Again, we'll go through in character keeper order to just give an introduction to your character, a brief background on what they've been up to so far, and then we will go back through in character order, and we'll set up a new entanglement for each one of you. So entanglements are essentially a mechanical term for the sort of the ties that bind people together and generate a lot of the drama that we see in the game. So with all that said and done, I think we'll go back to you, Alex, if you could introduce your character, and we'll
Sure thing. So I will be playing Lin Min, who's the student. He's a hopeful apprentice on his first steps out in the world. I did a couple of steps already, but he's already confident and sure of himself that he's a hero that the world needs. He's out there to impress everyone and make a fool of himself.
I'm going to be playing Ong Zie, who is of the Order of the Phoenix Immortal. one of the last members of that destroyed order, and now suddenly pointed for vengeance against his mentor and betrayer of the order, now Governor Bao.
I'm playing Thoughtful Master Yu Su of the Guardians of the Lotus Pavilion, an order of charitable monks. He's older than the other characters and blind, and has been sent into the world to bring calm and peace at a time of potential violence.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So yeah, what we're going to do now is, as I mentioned, we'll go through and create a new entanglement for your character, which will involve probably at least one of the other PCs. So all entanglements essentially feature, obviously, the character whose entanglement it is, and two other characters, usually two other characters, which may be either PCs or NPCs. You will have, you always have one general and one romantic entanglement. So anyway, as part of the beginning of each session, what we will do is we will have a discussion about your entanglements and see if there's a new entanglement, if there's any of your entanglements you do want to change. Because, as I said, because of the nature of how this game's gone, we've had a couple of people at this point who haven't played together before, so and some players who were here before who are not now. So I said we'll create each one of you one new entanglement, which can take into account the changing group dynamics. You can change either your general or your romantic entanglement, whichever one you wish to play into this session. There are some lists available, both specifically for your playbook, but if you wish to choose one of the other ones, that's fine as well. So, Alex, do you have a new entanglement in mind for Lin Min?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do, because right now both of mine are obsolete. They connect to characters that are not here. So give me a moment. So I was thinking of Blank, an authority of my faction, has ordered me to undercut Blank, who I respect. Figure out the name of the authority of my faction. So this is going to be the non-romantic entanglement, because the romantic one was the one that I played the first two times.
Sure thing. Yeah, no, that's cool. Can
I suggest, because I notice Iron Hand Protection League and Guardians of the Lotus Pavilion are on the same side of the righteous-unrighteous spectrum. I think rather interesting if that Iron Hand Protection League were trying to undercut the Guardians.
Yeah, actually I was thinking about adding your character on the second blank over there.
That works for me.
Yeah, great.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm just having a quick look at NPCs. Because I know we have at least one. Yeah, I think yeah, no, I think actually the only member of the Iron Hand Protection League we've met so far is Sue. So it could be Sue, or if you wish to have a new superior, then feel free to name someone.
I think Sue works fine, despite the maybe confusing coincidence in names.
Yes, that's true.
But I already have a connection with Sue. This is one of my love interests.
I go by Thoughtful Master most of the time, so it's don't worry about that one.
And I think we'll give Sue a sobriquet as well. I think that she will be Vigilant Sue. Just so we can avoid confusion when necessary. Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. So, why? What order do you think she is, or what specifically do you think she wants you to interfere with? With the Guardians of the Lotus Pavilion. You can answer that in a minute if you want. Once everyone else has done it, unless you have an idea now.
I have an idea. So if I remember correctly, Alan said that the Lotus Pavilion Guardians, they're trying to maintain peace in a time of war. So I'm thinking that the Iron Hand Protection League thinks that war is what we need right now, and we shouldn't go the peaceful way.
Yeah, that sounds
but
good.
They cannot actually confront them directly, so they found another way of doing it.
And I think specifically the conflict that Master Yusu is interested in at the minute is the specifically the 11 Devil Perfection Society are on the brink of war with the Lotus Pavilion. So it's possible that she wants to see that one actually come to a head.
Just to clarify, I think that the concern is that the Phoenix Immortal could cause war to break out if they confront the 11 Devils.
Oh, sorry. Yes. So yeah, that way around. Yeah. But yes, a similar tenor. That yeah. I think probably I imagine the basically that Vigilant Sue and the rest of the Iron Hand Protection League probably believe that the remnants of the Phoenix Disciple sort of have a basically have the right to seek justice against the 11 Devil Perfection Society. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so that brings us on to Donna.
I'm glad I went second because I was looking at all of my entanglements and wondering what I would do with them. And none of them jumped out at me this week, unlike last week. But I think maybe last week I had a general entanglement about protecting Ming, but this week I think I will go with a romantic one. There is mutual unrequited love between Sue, the Vigilant Sue, and I, because of my duty to master the benevolent master who has taught me in the past, Yusu. Does that work for you, Alan? Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one there.
I because I had a romantic one last week, I'm going to go with a general one this week. And I'm just wondering, because Governor Bao kind of went from background figure to villain last week.
Indeed.
So I suspect my friend Anshay's parent is the villain, Governor Bao.
Ooh, yeah, that would.
Yeah, does that fly, Donna?
Sure. Do I know he's my father, or
no? I think it's much more fun if I simply suspect. because I knew him a long time ago. I tried to mentor you after the destruction of your temple, and this is the first time I've talked to both of you in quick succession in recent years. And suddenly I'm hearing that younger Governor Bao when you speak to me. Don't let me forget I'm blind.
Well, this is unprecedented in the realms of melodrama.
Perfect. So, excellent. I think that gives us some good grist to the mill today. So I think obviously from the sounds of all of that, our big focus today is going to be around when, if, and how Anshe confronts Governor Bao, and how Lin Min and Master Yu Su's kind of competing or conflicting beliefs on that come into play. So I think, though,
Can I ask a quick question? Alex, I know from the looks of it, we're not really connected except through Anze's kind of unrequited love with Su, your character's master. Is that enough for us to hook onto, do you think?
I think we can make it work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if either of you do want to bring in another entanglement at this point to hook each other together, that's fine. But yeah, I think we've probably got enough to go with there. It's just if anyone has a particular idea they want to bring in, then feel free to do so. Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, as I say, I did mention briefly before as well that Sun Feng, sorry, lost his name for a moment, who Lin Min was previously investigating, has obviously also been linked into this whole conspiracy with Governor Bao. So that's put another possible lever there. So yeah, I think that today we will. I think one of the kind of the big event in the festival schedule is there's going to be a tournament in at sort of it'll be at dusk. No, it won't. We had evening last time, so no, it will be sort of at midday outside the no, it will actually be at the Shang family residence. Sadly, we didn't have Lian Shang here this time, but I'm sure that the party will go well even in her absence. So, oh yeah, cool. We have a start session note to do, so thank you for that reminder, Alex. We'll come to that in a second. Yeah, in fact, we will do that now. If you want to remind us what the move is, and
Yes, of course. It's called Face to Fate. At the start of session, roll 2d6 without any T. On a 6- mark XP, and the GM gains a soft move from Fate for later use. On a 7+, I basically just note down the die roll, and I can use it in exchange of any other die roll of mine or of my allies at any point during the session.
Brilliant, thank you. Oh yeah, just for one very last very minor point. Obviously, like I said, there has been a new set of public playtest rules just released for this game this last week. But for simplicity and because it's the last session we're running in this run, I will just be sticking with the rules as written in the character keeper for today. Okay, so.
So I rolled a 3.
A 3.
So
right.
It's your move.
Perfect. I will make a note that I have the hand of fate hovering above Lin Min's head. Thank you. Cool. So yeah, I think where we will begin. It's early morning. We've got that kind of dawn is breaking over the city. And the cock crows. There's already a bit of bustle going about in the city streets, porters wandering backwards and forwards. But what are each of you doing at dawn on the day of the big tournament? So, Lin Min, I'll start with you.
I guess recovering from a hangover of sorts. There was some kind of celebration going on last night. I only remember half of it. It did involve some gambling again, or research, as I like to present it. So I think I'm just sitting outside with a warm tea and hating myself, but not admitting it.
Perfect. Anshay, what are you up to this morning?
I think perhaps I have visited Governor Bao after he has had his breakfast, and I have asked him with a view to helping me in the tournament if he would honor me with a practice round. Because even though I know he is now my sworn enemy, I know I must study him before I can confront him. And it has been many years since I saw him fight in the temple, so who knows what dastardly tricks he has picked up since.
Excellent. That sounds good. And finally, Master Yusu.
I think it'd be quite nice if as Lin Min is supping his tea, there's the tap 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 of my flute just on the wall, just finding my way along to the tea house.
Yeah, that sounds good.
You mean bang, bang, bang?
Well, yes. If I could say it, it would be a bass bamboo flute. But yeah, so it's a big flute. And to you, it will indeed sound like the entire building is shaking.
Perfect.
And as is his wont to disconcert people, the blind eyes will settle on Lin Min, pause for a moment, and say, "Is that not Lin Min of the Iron Hand Protection League?"
My first reaction is to run, but then I pause a bit and I take a look and say, yes, that is me. And in the moment, I think I recognize you. Say, thoughtful Master Yusu.
Indeed, it has been some time, my boy. How has passed the year for you? Has it gone well?
It has gone great. I've learned things. Take a pause, take another sip, try to clear my head. As I said, I've learned a lot of things that I can do better and things I should avoid, apparently.
And what have you learned to avoid, my boy?
Loud noises the day after, or maybe I should avoid the night before. I'm not sure on that.
I think the wise man always looks to the night before when living in the moment. And the night before should think about the moment. Did you think about the moment last night, Lin?
I did not. my headache is a bit stronger right now. Trying to make sense out of all this.
I can almost hear the pumping of the blood in your head. It must be truly painful. Come, let us share a cup.
Yes, of course. It would be my honor.
And I think I'd quite like to study Lin to get some idea of what's going on with young Lin. And let me think. That is awareness. It seems to be what I do.
Yep, that's fair.
So roll +2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I was just going to say I think the link is in the character keeper, but there's a link to the dice roller if anyone needs it.
Okay, so that's 8.
So I believe that gets you one hold to ask a question with.
Yes. What are Lin Min's intentions today?
Oh, to prove himself on the tournament, of course. That's what he was thinking, like, until halfway there last night as well. And then the thoughts just disappeared into the stronger liquids.
I suspect Lian might have been involved in that somehow.
Quite possibly.
Are you in a condition to fight today, my boy?
Definitely. It's gonna be better very soon. And even like that, I can do it. I definitely can do it. You should have seen how we managed to get away, run away from the assassin that attacked us. It was glorious.
An assassin attacked you?
Oh yes, it was.
Who would send an assassin against such a charming young man as yourself?
I take another sip and stay silent for a while. I guess there are forces behind everything here. Can we get some more tea, maybe?
And do you suspect who those forces are?
I have a suspicion, of course.
I have been asked by the Shang clan to keep the peace during the tournament. It would be important for me to know if there was someone I should be, if you would forgive me, keeping an eye out for.
Lin Min hesitates for a moment, doesn't know how to react to the keeping an eye out comment. Well, I don't think it's anything that you need to bother. I mean, first of all, we took care of them. It was great. I don't think they will be bothering us anymore. And yes, I think I agree. We should keep the peace.
Indeed. And so what were their names? Where did they hail from? Come now, Lin Min. You know that your secrets will be safe with me.
Well, there are not that much of secrets as that, like, it's not very clear at the moment.
So you have no suspicions at all?
I have some information. Give me one more tea's time.
Then let us share another cup. Yes, and please. Then let us try hearts and minds.
Sure thing.
Which I think this time it's probably. I think I should go with metal this time. Calculation, because this is much more interrogation than it is listening for the key word. So that's +0.
Certainly.
06.
Excellent.
Well, I'll mark experience then.
Oh no, not on a regular miss with this, unfortunately.
Oh no, really? God.
Yeah. There's a couple of moves where you do, but as general, you don't mark experience on a miss in this. It's but I think at that point, the tea house door, well, it doesn't slam open exactly, but is opened at speed, but with precision, as Vigilant Sue strides into the room and closes the door behind her. And she almost doesn't register Master Yusu as she comes in, or at least certainly doesn't seem to pay him any mind. She will bow to him, but she turns to Lin Min. She's a fairly sort of she's not much older than Lin Min. She's probably in her early to mid-20s, but she's got the kind of long practical braid down her back. She's wearing, martial outfit. She's got a sword at her belt, and sort of the only real deference to the festivities is she has a small sprig of cherry blossom behind one ear that she will bow to. So she will bow to Yusu, but then turn to Lin and say, Lin, did you hear? I don't think you were there, were you? But Sun Feng was arrested last night.
I knew it. And then I recover myself immediately, side looking at thoughtful Master Yushu.
Of all things, they say that he is the Yellow Whisper, the thief that's been plaguing the city. He was found attempting to steal something from the governor's mansion last night, but Magistrate Zheng has him in custody right now.
I was certain about that. What's going to happen now?
I do not know, but it seems he has at least been brought to justice for now. He has not been, obviously he has not faced a trial yet, but I do not know if there's anything else you wish to pursue with him, if you think he has any links to other criminals, but anyway, I thought you would want to know.
Oh yes, of course. It's good news in a way.
Indeed, of a sort, at any rate.
And I turn towards the thoughtful master, and I do a small bow and give him a stare to understand that, well, here's the person that I suspected.
I hear the bow and note it. I have only one quip when Vigilant Sue leaves, and then I'm content with this scene. As she leaves, I cock an ear to her and say, do I hear the boot heel of Vigilant Sue? My own master, Quiet Hang, sends his respects.
And she will at that point pause and turn and say, "Thank you, Master. I am sure I appreciate the respects done to me by your clan, by your order." And she will bow again and then turn on her heel and leave. So over at the governor's mansion, the servants are clearing away the governor's things. His breakfast service. He's quite a large man, but quite corpulent with it. Clearly, sort of gone to seed since settling down into a life of relative leisure as governor of the city. And he will, at your request, Anshay, he will chuckle and say, "It certainly has been some time, boy, but very well. It wouldn't hurt to give you a quick bout, I suppose, see how those skills of yours have been getting on since everything. Come, we will go into my private courtyard. It would not do for rumors of our prowess to spread too far."
Indeed, I don't think this world is ready to see two disciples show their skills quite yet. Maybe our time will come sooner than we suspect.
Perhaps, boy, perhaps. Come. And he will head out into this courtyard, and it's flagstone courtyard with a sort of writing desk made of stone with an accompanying bench under a nice pavilion with some vines growing over it, and a thin stream winding between some of the paving slabs. One of those sort of deer scarers doing the clunking thing occasionally. He's sort of wearing basically a fairly fancy dressing gown essentially at the minute, but he shrugs it off and he's wearing kind of practical clothing underneath. He throws the dressing gown quite casually over the writing desk and goes to. There is a sort of a weapons rack at one side of the courtyard, and he goes and selects a Guandao, the big sort of pole army weapon, and sort of tests its weight in his hand, and affects a stance in the center of the courtyard. You recognize, obviously, the Immortal Phoenix elements to his style.
So I think I'm going to match weapons with him. I'm not going to use my preferred sword. And as I am testing the weight and giving it a flourish in front of him, I will say, I'm wearing the traditional robes of a disciple, even though no one else in the city really recognizes them. Do you miss the traditional garb of our order, Master Bao?
Sometimes I do, certainly, but all things must change. That is the nature of our life. Our order has been destroyed. Perhaps, boy, you will see it reborn. Perhaps not. We shall see. And he sort of executes a few spins of the Grand Dao, and then comes in with a quick swipe at you.
So I think I'm going to be relatively defensive at the start, and do a lot of blocking with the base of the pole on the halberd, and then bring after I retreat for a while, bring a long sweeping cut overhead, kind of directly down at an angle at him. I'm sure he will block or step away or something like this, but I have to give as good as I get in these practice bets.
So, what brings you to the city? Boy, there must be something here you are after.
Well, in fact, I was after intelligence of the destruction of the disciples. It would seem that the villain Sun Feng was involved, and maybe his fellows in that society of his. If I can get to interrogate him, where he is captured now by the guards, perhaps he will point me in the right direction.
Perhaps you are right. Maybe I could see that you can to it that you have an audience with him.
You needn't bother, Master. I'm sure the guards will recognize that I am the one who apprehended him, and therefore I should have some kind of natural right to interrogate him.
And I think at that point he's going to sort of come at you with a long lunge of the Grand Dao, and at that point we'll go for the rolling for a duel.
Okay.
I think. I think again we were saying this instance he probably does have scale on you.
Yeah.
But you again roll with your style element for this.
So metal +2. That is a 6.
A 6
total.
Yeah. Do you have do you have an appropriate bond for this?
The bonds I have then are Master Yusu and the 11 Devil Perfection Society. So no.
Certainly. So I think you will mark your chi for this. You will mark metal as he doesn't the strike he levels against you, it's obviously pulled. He's obviously not trying to cause you serious injury, but you feel the point of the Guandao just penetrate just below your diaphragm, straight over one of your the center of chi, and you can feel there's that moment where it wouldn't take him any effort at all to just thrust it through and finish you, but he withdraws. But you can feel kind of an odd disruption in the flow of your chi, as there was clearly some intent behind that strike. And he will say, "Not too shabby, boy. It is a shame we did not have longer together in the temple, but, well, such is the way of things. I will ensure that you will be able to have an audience with Sun Feng. But first, I do insist that we have someone see to that wound. I hope I have not struck you too hard a blow, but we obviously want you in tip-top shape for this tournament, don't we?"
I thank you, Master Bao. I'm sure I have much to learn from you.
And he waves a hand to the shadows, and a couple of figures step out that you hadn't noticed previously. One of them is is dressed in a sort of doctor's robes, and he will come over and begin to attend to the wound. It's not deep, but it is bleeding some. He'll come over and dress that for you, and the governor will go to the other man, who just appears to be a servant, says a few words to him, hands him one of his seals, essentially, and the servant runs off. Magistrate Bao, Governor Bao picks up his dressing gown again, shrugs it on over his clothes, and heads back and says, "One of my men will see you out when you are done. Take care, and I do hope to see you in the tournament."
So I think Anze will merely bow as deeply as he ought to, and not say anything more.
Excellent. Right, we are going to take a quick 5-minute break there, and we'll come back and carry on. Oh, Donna, one thing I didn't specifically call out again, but you can, if you want to, choose to mark wounded instead of marking your chi for that one you just took. That's always an option you have available to
Okay,
you.
yeah.
Basically, whenever you would mark a chi, you can always choose to mark wounded instead.
And that would mean I would still be able to fight because my my element for fighting technique is unmarked.
That's
And I would
correct.
be
Yeah.
taking a -2 penalty normally, but I can use the move I have to actually
Yep, you
get an
essentially get
additional.
a bonus free wounded one. Yeah.
So I might do that
Yeah,
instead.
cool.
That makes sense.
Or you could engineer a meeting for a comfort and support,
I could.
which is the other way to clear a chi.
Yeah, yeah. That might be useful anyway because my one of my other chi is marked as well.
Well, I have to say, I would quite like to bump into Anshay.
Cool.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
no, that's good. We can do that. First, I want to say, Lin Min, what are you doing after your breakfast with Master Yusu?
Depending, I don't know if I will follow or not, maybe. But one of the things that I would like to do in general is learn more about Xu Feng and what's going on. Why was he arrested, and what do they know, and what else can I discover?
Excellent. I thought that might be the case. So yeah, as I said, he's been taken to the magistrate's office where he's being held, and as you arrive at the magistrate's office, you will notice that the two guardsmen, usually on duty outside, are both lying on the ground, possibly unconscious. It's difficult. There's no blood that you can see. There's just darts sticking out the side of their neck.
Interesting. So, of course, seeing that, I react by getting my spear, putting my spear out, and walking through the front door. Because I'm prepared. They can't do anything to me.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, you enter the magistrate's office, and again, there's signs of struggle in here, and you will hear the sound of combat coming from down a corridor. You can hear blades clashing and shouts of alarm.
So I'd like to use my smiling proud wanderer, which says that you're just here to have an adventure. It's all an excuse to see the world. Once per scene, you may ask one question from study without rolling.
Yep, go for it.
So I would like to ask for any hidden details on the scene that might give me some information about what's going on, or maybe something that's not easily seen with a quick look.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I'm just going to a quick look at the basic move and see if it's... Yeah. That's cool. So you will as you're coming in, as I said, there's a couple more guards here who've also been taken out. But it looks like this is where the fights actually started in earnest. And there's also a figure here, again unconscious, but dressed in actually very familiar black veiled mask and robes. It's clearly one of the members of the Order of the Veiled Knight. And as I imagine you're kind of creeping towards him, and you sort of check. You see that he's obviously wearing this, like, ninja garb over his clothes. Well, you see, that's the thing you notice, is that he's wearing this sort of ninja garb, but it is over another set of clothes. And underneath, he's dressed in kind of servant's attire. And you notice as well, he's got like a leather thong around his neck, which again would have been under so essentially the veil he's been wearing has been kind of partially ripped off in the fighting. And there is, on the end of this leather thong, there is a small medallion that you recognize as the signet of Governor Bao.
And they're just standing there for now?
Sorry. This person is unconscious. Listen, you can see the fight. Okay. You can hear fighting just a bit further down the corridor. Yes. And you can probably see at this point there are some black clad assassins fighting a very good looking Magistrate Zheng, who seems to be almost holding his ground against them, but not exactly excelling himself.
Well, no matter what's going on, I think this is my time to sign. So I will just jump on them. Not very stealthily, actually.
Yep, sure thing.
Join the fray.
Yep.
Yeah,
Magistrate Zheng will call out. Excellent. Good job you're here. These ruffians have broken in. They've freed the prisoner. We must stop them. As he kind of fends off their blows with a sort of parry, a series of parries. As I say, there's a group of several of these assassins, all bearing down on the governor there, attacking him with swords. As I say, he's sort of holding them off for the moment, but they're clearly they've got him on the back foot now, are overpowering him.
So I give him my widest and more innocent looking smile, like really excited to be in the fray. And as I'm trying to hold them off with my spear, like keep some distance between me and them, ask him, they released all the prisoners?
Yes.
Anyone in specific?
Yes, that's Sun Feng, the Yellow Whisper.
And I imagine between each of the lines there is a hit with a spear from me on the side of their head of one of the assassins and pushing them back, and then pausing, asking one question and going back and forth.
Perfect. And yeah, if you would like to roll me to engage a troop, or is that the way around? Fight a troop, sorry.
Fight troops, yes.
So again, this will be with your style element.
Yes, that would be fire, so it's a +1. And that's an 8.
That's an 8, excellent. So yeah, you will defeat them. So yeah, describe how that looks as you. Well, I mean, you've kind of have partially already, but yeah. So how does it continue the?
I think I'm holding the spear at the wrong way. Let's say I'm the blade towards myself, and I'm hitting them with the tail end of the spear in the head. So I'm using it more like a club, actually, or like a quarterstaff. So I'm disorienting them, hitting them and on the head, and kind of like playing with them, toying a bit, until they get annoyed, and I let him finish them off, actually, just dizzy them.
Yes, and as the rest of them are down, he'll sort of say, "Well, excellent. Well, thank you for the help there. It's most appreciated. I mean, I'd have taken them all out on my own eventually, of course, but we got things done much quicker this way, more efficiently. And
yes, why
there's one thing I appreciate of its efficiency. Speaking of which, I should probably go and fill out some paperwork about the missing prisoner and then begin a search for him.
Can we help, maybe?
I mean, I suppose if you want to go and try and chase him down, that's
any information you can provide, any details?
Oh yes, he went
How many
that
were
way.
they?
He'll point towards like a broken window out into the street.
Mm-hmm. Great. Then I will go that way, and I think that will be the end of the scene for now, at least.
Yeah.
Like, as I jump out of the window, or
yes. So I think actually, what will happen? You'll jump out of the window, and you actually see. You think his son Feng, sort of approaching, sort of obviously approaching and towards an alleyway, or at least towards sort of the side of the square where there's some more streets and stuff going off, and you are in pursuit of him, but just at that moment, some a chain of dragon dancers and a general procession comes along between you and him, obscuring the vision for a minute, and by the time they've passed on, you can't see where he's disappeared to. Curse you, fate.
Yeah, exactly. Was he running alone, or
he was? Yeah,
he was alone. Okay,
yeah. Cool. And with that, I believe Yusu, you wish to meet up with Anshay.
Yes, because I think we haven't really had a conversation since the events of the previous evening. And I was probably on my way to find him when I bumped into Lin Min. So where do I find Anshay?
I think he might have gone to a certain tea house that he knows is that Vigilant Sue is quite fond of. Maybe in the hopes of meeting her, and also to just kind of rest his not quite broken, but certainly impinged upon ribcage. Maybe to just relax the shackles of his garb for a moment in the shade,
And so I find him supping a refreshing and reinvigorating tea. And I think that I am just curious, because I don't think we discussed in detail what the incriminating evidence that Ming found in relation to Governor Bao. We know that it painted him in a bad light, but was it specific?
I recall it was very specific, or at least as damning as needed to convince Anze.
Yes. You're not going to do anything rash about this, are you?
Rash?
Well,
Me?
Indeed, my boy, indeed.
Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of creature you think I am, but I have just spoken with Governor Bao following his breakfast. and we conversed most politely.
And I think that's when my eyebrow goes up, and I bow ribcage. Did you engage Governor Bao, Anjay?
Oh, I merely asked him if he might help prepare me for the tourney at noon.
And he beat you black and blue.
As a master would his student every day of the week. If I don't raise my elbows when I'm in a high guard.
And I think that I may have reached a point where I have to confront the fact that I suspect that Governor Bao is Anjay's parent. I think there's a bit of inner conflict here about you mustn't kill your father is what one side of my brain's saying. But can I share that with you? I don't know. Oh dear.
That sounds perfect. So with this will be an inner conflict roll. So with the inner conflict roll, so for a start, you mark XP when you make the roll, and you have to mark with you have to roll with something that isn't your style move.
Okay, I think this is about wisdom. This is about what's the right thing to do. Which is water +2. Ooh, 12.
Yep. So you I mean, ultimately, you're able to continue. You master your yeah.
So not a flicker crosses thoughtful Master Yusu's face. And instead, I think that he will have a conversation about, so how are you feeling, Anjay, after last night and this morning and in advance of the tournament?
It feels that I have made progress. But I must admit that I was not ready to believe Ming when she told me that Bao was the traitor at the heart of our order. But she seemed so sure, and then we procured indeed evidence of his treachery. And I'm sure I'm not ready to take him on. But I must.
Yes, perhaps there are ways to bring him back to the light that don't involve direct confrontation. There may be ways for you to come to terms with the destruction of the temple and then to engage with the governor.
You think I should accept the death of the 97 of my fellow disciples?
Not accept, but begin to put in the broader context of the world.
If you think the world is a better place without the disciples?
I think the world could be a worse place if you set fire to the fuse of future destruction. Death causes death.
Let me ask you a question, learned master. Do you think this city, this province, is better with a villain like Governor Bao at its head, or worse?
Worse. He cannot remain governor. But there are ways to engineer his departure that do not involve more death.
I'm happy to defeat him and throw him in jail like we did Sun Fang. I am not without mercy.
I'm glad you see that argument. And that's the point, I think, where comfort and support kicks in.
Okay.
let me think. I think I'm probably counselling patience here, aren't I? Which is
Very much sounds that, yeah.
+0.
Which is not Onze's
Ooh.
strong point.
Well, it turns out that it's mine, boxcars.
Nice.
So, counter support on 10+, clear a chi yourself, ask them a question, answer. Hang on. They clear a chi and add a bond with you.
Yep.
I've never achieved 10.
Oh, sorry.
On this.
Yes, they clear a chi or add a bond with you. On a 10+, you clear a chi yourself or ask them a question they must answer or gain a bond with them.
Well, let's see. I think I will clear a chi. Job done.
Cool.
Sadly, there is nothing I can do, my boy, for your ribs.
Is there a question you're interested in answering, or interested in me answering anyway?
So clear a chi yourself. Ask. No, those are exclusive. I've cleared a chi. I can't ask you a question.
I mean, you can ask me a question, but mechanically, I'm not compelled to tell the truth. But I think Master Yu has been supportive. Any rolled boxcars. We must reward boxcars.
I want you to promise me you will do nothing rash, Anze, with respect to the governor. Talk to me first.
Master, if you speak to Governor Bao, I'm sure you will see what kind of a man he truly is. If you return to me, having engaged with him yourself, and tell me that he does not deserve everything my heart wishes, then I will hold my sword.
There is wisdom in what you say, my boy. Wisdom in what you say. Now, rest before the tournament.
Okay.
Cool. So, was there anything, did anyone have anything else they wanted to do before the tournament? As I think that's where things will be coming to a head this evening.
I think I'll seek out Governor Bao at the tournament, not before.
Certainly.
I think I have to have a training montage, don't I?
Yes, certainly a training montage would be good at this point.
Maybe it's an opportunity to have a scene with Sue.
Yes, certainly. So yeah, I think Lin Min, feel free to jump into the scene as well if you want to, because obviously you're also kind of connected with Vigilance Sue, and this is likely, I guess, to be I think maybe in the immediate aftermath of this scene, and we'll kind of see this in a very brief kind of montage. Sue has come in to have get a bowl of noodles, basically, which she says as you have a quick chat with her, and then she says basically that she is heading back to the Iron Hand Protection League headquarters if you wish to join her there. And we'll then, cut to the their sort of
yeah. So I think I'll accept that invitation. I'm not sure. Is this the first time I've been within these hallowed halls of the league?
I don't know. Do you think you will have done before? So it's your kind of standard. I meant to look up the word because I had to default to dojo last time, which is obviously the Japanese term. But it's it's that sort of style of like martial arts school, essentially, with the big, like, practice areas and Wing Chun dummies and all that sort of thing around.
I think perhaps I have been, but as part of one of the trials to become a full disciple, we have to infiltrate rival schools and do something not obnoxious, but something daring to like steal the coals out of the hearth at the center of the school.
Yeah, awesome. That's cool.
So I know I shouldn't know the layout, but I do. Even if that slightly, I mean, I think Sue picks up on that I know the layout even when I shouldn't, or something like that.
Yeah, nice. Sure thing. You seem at home here.
Well,
I'm sure.
You've been in one fighting club. You've been in them all.
I suppose. Though I like to think we are a little above most of the common and guard and associations and the like. But
you are indeed a cut above the rest, Sue.
I do wonder sometimes, Anshay, your devotion to your order is admirable, and their destruction was a great tragedy. But if you wished to seek companionship amongst fellows again, you would find a space here amongst the Iron Hand Protection League. Your skills and your heart are of the right sort of what we look for.
Well, perhaps when I have finished my business, I can pursue other interests. Am I sailing very close to the wind on this inner conflict?
Yeah, I'd say probably we're pretty much there. So I think it's probably an appropriate time to roll it.
Okay. So let me just take a look, see what I'm rolling on.
So yeah, you can choose any chi that isn't your style, and you mark a point of XP for rolling it.
Okay. I mean, I'm feeling that it's earth or water.
Yep, either of those sounds good.
Caution, focus, and present. Yeah, I think I'm trying to, despite any kind of inkling of playfulness that I'm tempted by, I'm just trying to stay focused on the mission. So yeah, I will roll with. I think I'll roll with Earth. Okay, I keep rolling 4s today. That is a 6.
Okay, so I think you will mark that Earth Chi for a start, and I think that Sue at that kind of draws back, and again her face takes on a sort of sterner expression, and she says, well, I could not stand between you and your duty, your revenge, your justice, I should say. That is why you would be such a good fit for this order, this for our brotherhood. There is we cannot trust on the heavens to bring justice about for us. We must go out and seek it with our own hands. And she will say, and on that note, I have duties of my own that I must attend to. If you wish to train before the tournament, then feel free to use our facilities, but I am sure I shall see you at the tournament. Good fortune, Anshay. And she'll give you a respectful bow and head off towards her room, essentially.
Okay. Which unfortunate junior member of the Protection League will be beaten senseless by Onze as a training partner, I wonder. Actually, I mean, in terms of the... Oh, it is the young Lin Min, a worthy opponent. I think the original idea I had for the kind of new technique is to recognize the disdain with which Bao treats his opponents. He knows he's better, and he doesn't care about the outcome really, only about himself. And now that I've marked Earth, I think maybe he has been kind of swept out of Sue's mind as just another asset to the league, and I think that disdain is growing within him, and he is getting inside the mindset of Bao, and more or less fighting exactly like him.
Cool.
So that I think is the new technique.
Yeah, that sounds
the new way of approaching the fight.
That sounds good. So I think we'll come back to because I think it would be nice to have a little scene between Anshay and Lin Min at the Anham Protection League. But I think that seems like a good point to cut over to. Oh no, sorry, you were saying you were going to approach. You were saying you were going to approach the governor at the tournament, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to just watch another scene.
Yep, sure thing. No, in which case, yeah. Feel free to describe, how that scene. Like I said, I think this sounds more like I don't think there's specifically what's the word I'm looking for? So yeah, we can have the two of you just describe how Lin Min and Anshay describe how kind of the sparring looks. Unless either of you has anything you particularly want to get out of it, it won't necessarily be a player duel. But if you do want to initiate that, that's also fair. We can do that. Although actually, first, yes, I will get you, please, Donna, to make me your
the new technique roll.
Yes, indeed,
Okay.
new technique.
So I'm rolling
so
+1, am I?
That's right. Yep.
Okay, finally, I'm rolling something decent. So I got a 7 +1 is 8.
8. Okay, so on a hit, you gain scale against your foe. On a 7 to 9, there's a significant cost to learning the move. Yeah, so I think what do you have any ideas of what cost you think would be appropriate for this? I have an idea, but I'll see.
I mean, I'm wondering, maybe independent of this, does Lin Min see Anze's reaction to Sue's dismissal and maybe get that? I'm not sure that's a cost for Anze, though. It's just an idea, regardless. I mean, is it valid to say? I mean, there's a mechanical advantage for him using the sword to impress, but could it be that he knows that the sword is too familiar to Bao, and he must use a different weapon to defeat him?
That sounds good. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a you learn this new technique, but it is it doesn't use the sword. It's the specific technique that you'd need to defeat him is I think it's maybe because obviously you know that that obviously the Governor Bao does favour the pole arm, the Guandao. And I think maybe you realise that the sword isn't really an effective weapon against that. So I think there's another weapon that you think would be more effective. I'm thinking possibly either like an equally a weapon with reach, or possibly like a shorter, quicker weapon.
If I may, maybe you could have gotten the idea while we were sparring, and I'm using a spear. So you could have seen the spear, and like it was the moment that it clicked.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe Anze is so used to using the sword and being good enough that it will suffice against most opponents. But you have an extra 6 feet in length with your spear, and good enough that you can punish me every time I try to close distance. And you slap me around a few times on the head with the non-pointy end enough times that the lesson finally sinks in.
Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, if Joe, you just want to play out a little brief scene in the aftermath of the sparring.
So Lin Min, sorry, you go first.
No. I was just going to say that I see the Lin Min coming into when exactly at the moment that you're left by Shu, and you're like, okay, now with whom do I train? And I just walk in without knowing what has happened, and appear like the perfect victim there. And yeah, we have I don't know if we want to have the scene while sparring or right after.
Yeah. I think after a breather, maybe after the first time I have switched to a glaive, you can see like the cogs turning in my mind. You can see the moves going through. Maybe I'm giving you some pointers at how to fight like Bao does.
Yeah, and I ignore all of them, of course. I agree and ignore all of them.
So then I think it will be something like, is this how you follow Master Su's advice?
I do not understand. I have my own way of absorbing information.
Well, she is not an easy woman to get along with, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. That is true. But sometimes the difficult things are worth more.
And if they're being very difficult, they are very worthy.
Yes. And I think I get lost a bit in my own thoughts at the exact moment that you hit me on the side, and I snap out of it.
Okay.
So,
Remember your... No, go ahead.
there was a bit of a delay here. So go on.
I think it's unwise for you or for anyone to let their mind wanders to what their heart desires in the middle of a fight, don't you?
It is. It is very true, and it is one thing that I need to learn. But the heart is not an easy thing to control.
I'm sure the redoubtable Master Yusu would have us embrace all of the heart's feelings in order to be truly alive and to be, more human than the monsters that we seek to defeat.
I think I like that. I think, yes. And again, I'm getting lost in my thoughts and probably get hit again or something. So
He does quite like it if you pay attention to his little ramblings.
mm,
If you repeat something back to him a week later, he will be most impressed with your progress.
yes, and that might happen. And I also think that in the middle of this whole sparring, I switched to the sword because I'm thinking like, maybe switching weapons is the way to move forward. It doesn't work, but I do it anyway.
Well, you must always remain able to switch weapons or techniques for the prevailing wind.
Being fluid. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I'm way too good with my spear to abandon it.
I think that's it from me. Do you want to?
No, I think that's fine.
That's
Okay,
nice.
Cool.
So I think we'll take our 5-minute break there, and then we'll come back for the tournament proper. See you all in 5 minutes. Excellent. So we will move on to the tournament. In the Shang clan residence, it's a grand building and grounds. Probably actually more impressive even than the governor's mansion, because this is, after all, the seat of an important clan across the empire. It's very traditional, very classical in its layout. So once again, you've got the intersecting sort of series of courtyards, as well as some gardens and the like around. The tournament itself will be taking place in the main courtyard of the house. There will be kind of lesser bouts taking place outside the estate proper, where sort of the regular citizens of the town can watch, though the guest list within the estate is a bit more select. There's food and drink provided for the guests. There is a sort of some temporary seating and the like set up around sort of a marked out arena. Sat sort of in pride of place is the Dowager Shang herself, as well as the governor is there as one of the guests of honor. Several other Shang family members are in attendance in sort of the top box, as it were, and throughout the rest of the audience is a mixture of the city's sort of high society, as well as notable members of the Wulin world. This includes obviously all of yourselves and various other people we've encountered so far. Vigilant Sue will, of course, be in attendance, as will many other people we have encountered or not so far. The tournament will sort of, there'll be kind of rankings and pairings off and all the sort of usual stuff. But after you've all, or those of you participating, have fought a few bouts, there will be a call from Lady Shang as she sort of stands. As, given some unfortunate last-minute rescheduling, we have had to change around. Some of the ordering of the matches had some last-minute attendees, all that sort of thing. I can assure you it's a most frightful imposition upon my time. But anyway, the next bout will be fought between And she sort of looks down at the scroll in front of her. Lin Min and squints. Twilight Shadow, and a figure dressed in the familiar black robes and black veil will step into the arena.
And when she said Lin Min, I had my usual big smile, happy. And when I heard the name of my opponent, it kind of froze, and then, well, not exactly frown, but it definitely turned to more serious. But then I steady myself and I go in, ready to face my opponent. This point, should we do a flashback? Because I had the...
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like the appropriate moment to bring that in.
Yeah. So I guess that's where I was at the time that I was not here, on scene at least.
Exactly, yep.
I was training. So from what I remember, they were very agile, quick to hit on our last encounter. So
that's right, yeah.
I think my technique would be something more on the defensive and pretending that I am hit, but find a way to parry or block their hit without them noticing. And I'm trying to pretend that I am being wounded, hit, and do my sudden strike at the last minute when they're not expecting it. Or at least that's how it is in my mind as I'm training.
Yeah, that sounds good.
How it is in reality.
Yeah, so you roll with the number of times that you have seen them fight, I believe, is the for the new technique move.
So it's a +1. Oh, that's a 12.
Nice. So yeah, you gain scale on your opponent. There's no further cost to that. So yeah, just describe briefly sort of the kind of that moment at the end of the montage when we kind of know that you now have the skills necessary to take on your opponent.
Yeah. So I guess I'm training with different people. Like that's why it took so much time. And I get hit and hit and hit, and all we see is that thing. Me getting hit by all different opponents. And then the last scene, I guess, is where I fall to the ground. And then I do a variation of my style, which is the scorpion sting, which is like as I'm falling down, I use my spear and hit from over my head at them when they don't expect it. And I'm lying down on the ground, dust, and there is a slight smile when I see that it was successful. That move was successful.
Perfect. That sounds good. So we'll come back to the actual bout itself in a second. Master Yusu, are you participating in the tournament today, or just here as a?
Of course not. Of course not. No, I think I'm probably in the royal box because I'm here at the behest of Auntie Shang, aren't I?
Indeed, you are. Yes.
And so that is where I think I will have the opportunity, probably just before bouts start. Or if there's been that interruption, there may well then be a refreshment break. And during that refreshment break, I will find a time to have a chat with the governor. And tap, 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 tap. Governor Bao, it's an honor to meet you.
Master Yu Su. Indeed, it is a rare pleasure to be in your company.
I feel I must bring to your attention the fact that evidence has come to light of your involvement in the destruction of the disciples of the Phoenix Immortal.
That sounds like a weighty accusation.
Oh, I make no accusation, Governor. I simply point out the evidence that is now available. And I come to you to offer you the honorable way out. Retreat to private life.
I have nothing to fear from baseless allegations.
I would not wish to bring this to the attention of the Dowager Shang.
She has no power over me.
Or indeed the Emperor.
Well, if you truly believe the evidence you have is so damning, then I suppose I will await the Emperor's justice. But I think there are few who would choose to believe the whatever evidence you might have found.
I implore you, for I fear that were this information to reach the surviving members of the order, then I would be powerless to stop them intervening in a less civilized manner. Please, Governor, think again.
Okay.
Hearts and minds? Or will he act?
I'm not sure how susceptible to your words he is here. I'm just... Yeah. No, I think... I don't think that he... I don't think he currently feels that you are enough of a threat to him for him to take you seriously. Although, if you would like to make a study roll, you could do so. I think he is. I think you've kind of got. I think you've probably got under his skin a bit here, but I don't think he
No,
I just don't think he has enough regard for you at the moment to.
No, I think you're quite right. I think I don't think I'd noticed the means of manipulation option in study, which is legitimately the place to go. Okay, I think that this is about. It's whether I can come up with a creative way to leverage him.
Yeah.
So it's fire at -1.
Sure thing.
4 becomes 3. A pathetic miss. He is the most opaque individual I have come across in many years.
No worries. We'll come back to that in a moment, I think.
I am thinking that the only other leverage I could do, I have over him, which would result in a conflict, is whether I reveal my suspicions about his child.
Sure.
Just so you've got that context.
Yep. No, that's cool. Yeah. So, sorry, lost my train of thought there. And Shay, what are you up to? I presume you are participating in the tournament here.
Yeah. I guess I'm going through the rounds as any other candidate, and really, I think I am just biding my time till I have an opportunity to call Bao out.
Excellent. Is there anything in particular you want to be doing at the moment whilst
I think, I mean, if I see Master Yusu, arrive next to the governor, I'll be watching that very closely.
Yep.
I'm not sure there's anything else jumping out at me.
No, that's cool. So, I think so no, I think I will loop back around to Master Yusu briefly. So I think the Governor Bao says, but I'm afraid you are mistaken. Regardless, Master Yusu, whatever evidence has been brought in front of you has been fabricated, I am afraid. I am, alas, a man not without his enemies. Sad though it is to say. But I would not like to see a revered elder such as yourself caught up in all this unpleasantness. And he will lay a friendly hand on your shoulder and say, it really would be best for your health to leave well enough alone on this. And it's that thing, there's not really any force behind it, but you just feel his fingers move slightly in the nerves of your shoulder, and a flash of pain surges through sort of your sinuses, through your ears, and your hearing is kind of a bit off, and it's like everything sounds kind of like it's coming through cotton wool, And if you could mark water for me, please.
Job done.
Oh no, actually, sorry, no, it will be fire. Sorry, because it was
fire I used.
It was fire you used. So yeah, that's
yeah, this makes me reckless. I think I do need to, because the only leverage I've got left is what I think about Anshay. So I am going to roll that in a conflict.
certainly. Yep, go for it.
I think that this is with. It's whether I can control this, really. It's whether this is the calculated thing to do or whether I'm reacting recklessly. I can't roll fire, but the reckless thing to do is to use my next worst stat. So I'm going to roll with metal +0. Oh, 10. So I hold it together. I don't spill.
Yeah.
But I will bow very slightly and leave the royal box, I think. Because now it's about when the explosion happens, not if.
Perfect. Cool. So, and now we'll go back to Lin Min. As you face down against Twilight Shadow will approach the middle of the arena and bow deeply to you with the respect due a fellow warrior.
I will definitely do the same, yeah.
And as you're both bowing, he will murmur softly, "You, boy, have been the most aggravating little man. I would hate to bring a note of sadness to the celebrations today, but accidents do sometimes happen in these duels." And he steps back and takes his stance. And you notice as he draws his sword, there is just a shimmer of something on the blade.
I think I will give him a look which is very close to the picture that I've chosen, like a very innocent, smiling, like I was kind of expecting that, and yeah, I have an audience. It's my time to impress people, and after all, I've done that before with the same person. What could possibly go wrong?
Perfect. Cool. So, I think the fight begins. As I say, he stood there in stance with his sword, and he will flick his hand out to the side, holding the sword level, and just run straight for you. He's fast, agile, and the holding the point of his blade precisely towards you as he charges in.
Yeah, and I will try to use my new technique for real this time. So every time he attacks, I half dodge, half block with the shaft of my spear, but try to make it look like I've actually been hit or that I am on my off foot all the time. And yeah.
He will come at you, flicking his sword. So he steps around you and says, "Oh, do come on, dear boy. At least try and make this look good. This is embarrassing for both of us."
Yeah, and I pretend to. I don't just pretend. Yeah, I do come onto the offensive as well. Although I'm not doing my absolute best. Make it kind of easy for him to avoid it, but not too obvious at least.
Yeah.
And then I retreat back. And I try to do this a bit, but mostly retreating.
Yeah, and I think this time he starts running towards you and comes in with does one of those super high leaps, and is essentially coming down at you from. He's got the sun silhouetted behind. Well, he's silhouetted against the sun as he comes down with the point of his sword towards you. And I think at that point you can roll for the duel. As I said, you are facing now somebody at your scale, and you'll roll with your style element.
Yes, that would be a +1 then. That's a 9.
9. Okay. So, if the foe is at your scale, on a 7 to 9, you can choose one. You can win at a cost. Mark Chi, they escape, and there is a cost. So yeah, examples are that they mark Chi, you mark Chi, they escape, you lose face, or something similar. You narrate your loss. You mark XP and take +1 forward when you next face them, or you deadlock, and you may reveal a detail or ask a question about them. I will also just point out at this stage as well, at this point, if you deadlock, we probably will go to another roll, because it's a duel to see who wins. So
yeah. No, I was thinking of the win at a cost, at least. There is no point of them escaping. Lose face. I think I will mark wounded. Yeah.
Yep, that's fair.
Because they were coming a bit aggressive anyway, right?
Yeah, and I think that maybe the sword only catches you a glancing blow, and you handily. How does it look? As I say, they come down towards you.
Yeah. And I think I use that opportunity to do my final parry, but make it so that I'm defeated. I fall down, and it's then that I use my Scorpion Sting technique, and I hit them in the head. I'm not trying to kill them, of course. I'm just trying to win the fight, but it's enough of a blow to capacitate them for a while at least. And as I'm down, again on the ground, having the same smile that it worked, I suddenly feel the sting of the cut on my hand, and yeah, we see a little bit of blood soaking my clothes.
Yeah, and I think as well, you can just see there's that very slight, greenish tinge to the wound where this poison has that he has on his blade has made, even though it's only a glancing blow, it's impeding you more than it might otherwise. And also at this point as well, because we're getting towards the end. So I will use that reveal for now. As he falls down, he hits ground. He's obviously unconscious. His veil falls aside to reveal that it is none other than Sun Feng himself.
I was actually thinking of using the declared detail of doing that, but yeah. I'm really glad that it turned out to be. Yes.
I'm glad we're on the same page there.
Yeah. So just a note here. I don't know if we can fit it into the fiction somehow, but I have a move, a sacrifice. When you mark the wounded condition, all of your allies gain +1 forward.
Yep, no, that's absolutely. So I think you will. That you see that triumph, and you've probably got that kind of slightly woozy look. but you've triumphantly defeated Twilight Shadow. So I think that that your friends amongst the crowd will be kind of heartened by your display, and both Anshay and both Anshay and Yusu can take +1 forward on your next roll because you've been, Lin Min's sacrifice fighting this formidable warrior has sort of given you heart. Excellent. So, Yusu, what are you doing? Having left the royal box.
I'm going in search of Anshay.
Yep. I doubt he'll be difficult to find.
I'm sure he's watching Lin Min's bout, recognizing the techniques. Every hit he made upon Lin Min earlier was not a real hit after all.
And I will simply say to Anshay, I have not yet been able to convince the governor to resign his position and return to private life. But I still counsel you against doing something rash.
Rash? Me? I mean, this advice sounds very similar to our tea at 11.
And I just don't want you to get hurt, my boy, in any way.
Well, I thank you for your concern, but I must put my well-being below the good of this province.
I recognize your urge for an honorable solution. Go with my blessing, my boy.
Well, if you wish to act to support me for the betterment of the people, then I think I would be glad of your presence at my side.
I will be watching with interest.
So I'm not sure if there's a pair of fighters in the tourney, or whether there's like a little gap in the schedule. But when there's a moment of respite, I think I will just walk out into the center of the tourney square.
I have thought of a way in which I can help Anshay in this. And I will precede him into the arena playing my flute, which should cause sufficient interruption for whatever he has in mind.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, you enter playing the flute. It kind of, most people around are assume this is all part of the entertainment. They have little reason to suspect otherwise. I think you probably get a look from Madame Shang. But I suppose you also wouldn't necessarily realize that. So that's.
I want to roll to impress the crowd.
That sounds good.
The crowd on our side.
That sounds good.
And I think probably this is Creativity. Oh, fire! I haven't got it. Damn. No, I don't think I can. I don't think it's realistic.
I think
I can use. I know I can use anything, but I think the justification for wood, water, metal, or earth, fiction, I don't think it's there.
I suppose one way of thinking is what do you want to kind of instill in the audience?
Okay.
What kind of
Patience.
Yep.
To get their attention long enough. Which would be +0.
So yeah, I'm imagining a kind of a soothing, kind of almost meditative flute performance.
And that gets me a 7.
A 7. So on the 7. So yeah, I think so you get 2 options anyway. So you get to create a bond, clear a chi, or gain a favor. You can pick 2 of those. So I think which of those do you think you would like to choose? Then I will. I'll see. I'll offer you.
I think
I'll build up to that.
I think this reestablishes my bond with Anshay.
Yep, that sounds good.
Yeah. And then you offer me a hard choice.
You also get to choose one other as well.
2. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll clear. No. I will gain a favor.
Sure.
And the favor is that the Dowager will allow Anshay to say his piece.
Yep, I think that is fair. That definitely fits. And I think that is true. But I think that the complication is that while she will allow Anshay to speak, she will essentially hold both of you responsible for his words and actions.
No pressure.
And I think at that moment, I think as kind of the last, notes of the flute and fade away, Madam Shang will stand up and say, "Yes, well, that was delightful. Thank you very much, Master Yu Su. Yes, this is most unorthodox, but do go ahead, young man. What is it that you wish of us?"
So I will kind of stand in front of Master Yusu and draw the sword that anyone with any skin in the game will recognize as this famous dragon saber. And I will turn slowly to kind of present it to the entire crowd. And then when I'm facing back at the royal box, in kind of a parade ground roar, introduce myself as Angze, disciple of the Phoenix Immortal. I will say disciple, singular.
That there will be that kind of, shocked gasps throughout the crowd. That revelation.
And then in my other hand, I will raise up the scroll Ming stole from the governor's mansion and say, "Here, the powers of justice will see evidence against an until now esteemed member of this court. A great act of treachery undertaken by him against our order which surely should see him see some justice, either here in the sand or on the chopping block. And then pointing the sword at Governor Bao, you who were once the most gifted disciple of Phoenix Immortal, betrayed your oath for power and wealth. And look at you now.
I am hardly of a mind to countenance such ridiculous allegations from a young wanderer such as yourself. But I am still a man of honor, as I have always been. And I cannot sit here and allow my name to be degraded such. As much as you ought to just be dragged off by the magistrates for causing such a disturbance and spreading such slander. That is not enough. So very well. I suppose I shall have to face you in the arena. And he sort of shrugs off the outer layers of his courtly robes. He's still sort of festooned in sort of long flowing robes with long sleeves and the like, but without the heaviest outer layers on. And he will leap down from the royal box with surprising agility for a man of his age and stature. I do apologize, Madam Shang, for the disturbance to the festivities. I assure you, I will have this matter dealt with in no time at all. And he will once again fetch a Guandao from one of the weapon racks around the edge of the arena.
Is this where you'd like me to roll for Final Master? Because I have a plan.
Certainly. If you.
So that's this is all about. What I've done is create a very flexible approach to this. Every one of those glaives, but the one that I have here, has had its butt filled with lead. 6. I still get one hold.
Yep.
But the tables will be turned on me before this is over. And I'll tell you now, that is +1 forward on a roll by Anshay.
Sure thing.
So with a final look in his eyes that says, you have just seen a young man triumph. Now, you must think hard.
Is there a possibility that Angze could help Yuzu with that roll to bump him to a 7? Or because we have a bond both ways, right?
Yes. So
burn the bond.
That's a good point, actually. Yes, because you're specifically doing it to help out Anshay. So yeah,
right.
That's also fair.
So I have one hold, but it doesn't come back to bite me. Fine.
Yep.
And then once they're lined up, I will have one last go at cooling tempers. Yeah. But I think probably I am going to roll with. Oh no, I can't. I'm going to roll with metal, because frankly, I'm not sure Governor Bao deserves to get away with this, but I will just say to them, I will put my flute between them and say, I need you to know, both of you to know, and say, I believe that Governor Bao is your father. And then roll +0, which is 9. On a 9, I have a moment to negotiate. Please do not spill blood you do not need to spill. I'll leave it at that.
Sure thing. And yeah, the governor will just shake his head and say, the time for that is past, priest, not monk, sorry. I will not bear such an insult to my name and my office by anyone, regardless of who they might be.
So when Angze maybe surprises everyone by sheathing his sword and tossing it in the sand behind him, and then taking the glaive and taking up a stance which maybe Bao has not seen him take before, but he will hawk and spit into the sand in front of them and say, I renounce any blood between us until you are brought to justice.
And he will say softly, so that only those immediately in the arena can hear, and say, we both know how this is going to go, boy. I did not wish it to be so, but I cannot let you destroy all I have built. And he charges towards you with the Guandao raised.
So I guess I roll.
Sure thing. So I believe you're currently at +2 over your what's on this at the minute for the hold and for the sacrifice move.
Yeah. So let me.
Can I just add a descriptive detail before you roll the dice? I think that probably in the movie, what we see is Master Yusu playing his flute while this fight goes on all around him.
And I'm sure when Angze is winding up to parry and then strike back, you have a moment where even your resolve is tested, and you must take half a step back as the glaive passes. I'm not going to say it touches your beard, but the beard is sucked by the wind stream as the blade goes by. Okay, let me roll. That is, I rolled a 7, so that is an 11.
Excellent. So when you fight someone at your tier, if the foe is your scale, which he is, on a 10+, you win the conflict and may mark XP if you show mercy or let them escape. You may declare a shift in the fiction, a change of heart, impress someone, or shift in entanglement. So, yeah, as I say, how does this look as you best him?
So I think maybe the kind of pressure of his flurry of attacks really tells at the start, and Angze is retreating, and then takes a block on the pole, just like Lin Min did against him at the very start of our training montage, and whips the entire polearm around to like mimic a disarming move, to which Bao is contemptuously at ease with and steps back, but as he does, he misses the kind of looping sidekick that comes in from Angzhe, using the kind of the sun and moon technique that we described previously of, making a flashy move with one aspect and then hitting with the other. And
we
that
probably
kind of
have
sense
a flashback to that previous moment in that fight, and
yeah,
a sound effect of some sort.
And then I think it's just a question of following up. And then, we go all the way back to where we started and keep continuing back to the other side of the arena with just, I think, a disdainful approach by Angzhe to him. And maybe, maybe Bao's stamina isn't in it, and he just
I was going to
begins
say,
tire.
I think as he's pushed onto the defensive, you see that he's still fast and he's still precise in his movements, but he just doesn't. What he has lost is that endurance and that stamina. He's not had to work for anything for a while, and as each time he blocks one of her hits, you can see it getting harder and harder. The Grandao seems heavier and heavier in his hands.
I mean, certainly it's heavier than mine. I think maybe Angzhe is making him work the butt of it more than he should by attacking from one direction and then the other. So yeah, eventually he's just too tired, and when we next come on guard, the tip of the glaive is wobbling, and that's when I think Angzhe just contemptuously slaps the glaive out of Bao's hands and puts the curve of the glaive blade up against his throat. And Angzhe just says, "Submit to justice."
I suppose I have no alternative. If it means anything, I am proud of how strong you have become, boy. And he drops to his knees in front of you.
I think if I can use that shift in the fiction,
Yep.
I guess I'm impressing the vigilant Sue in the crowd.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think she will step forward at that point, and say, "You have done well bringing this criminal to justice." And Magistrate Zheng, he will come and say, "Yes, oh yes, of course. I suppose guards deal with this whole situation, please." And several guards will come in, and the governor will be dragged off to his final fate. And I think with that, we will just quickly go around and get like an epilogue, or just like kind of a last scene, not last scene, but last shot of each of the characters. So, Lin Min, what do we see from him?
I think he's leaning on his spear, like half drowsy from the poison, just a bit dizzy, not with full in touch with reality. And since we still have Xun Feng, I think he has dragged him on the side, and probably not everyone has seen his face, who he actually is. And at that point, when the guards come in, Lin Min is like, "Oh, there's another one here," and then cut the scene.
Nice, thank you. And yeah, Anashay.
I think maybe a quick scene with Yusu where Angzhe approaches him and bows very, very deeply, and wonders if he has fulfilled his duty to the good master in preserving the peace, at least insofar as in pursuit of justice might allow.
And I think there's no question that thoughtful Master Yusu will think and then look intently at the young man and say, "You have balanced mercy with duty and honor with war. This is a great moment for you. Cherish it."
Nice.
And then I think probably just before roll titles, there's a dusty road. We see the city behind, pan right, and there is Yusu simply wandering away from the city playing his flute. Roll titles.
And as he's walking along the road, the blossom from all the trees flutters around as he's playing his flute. And yeah, as we go into the titles, we just have that sort of like overlay of like blossoms coming down behind the credits.
And it could almost be as if he disappears. Tremendous.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, everyone. That's been a good session. Thank you for that, and the good series in general for everyone. So thank you very much. I will stop the broadcast now. So if anyone has been watching, thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed.